seeing your works at the, Women Human Rights Defenders Hub, but also Oil Watch Network. You're a climate leader, an expert, if I might say, and you've seen how the climate crisis is worsening by the day, by the year, by the decade, and even how vulnerable communities, including these women and girls, and also boys, are, getting impacted by, the effects of this climate crisis. So I wonder, from a woman leader perspective, what role do you see women, human rights defenders, and women leaders playing to bring about climate solutions and environmental solutions?
I see two main roles. One of the roles is to monitor commitments that our governments are making. Because when those commitments are made, they are equally implemented up here, but the impact is felt at the community level. So, as women defenders, whether you're working in climate or not, you need to take interest on what this climate conversation is all about. Because when you get to understand, you can actually see what you're going through and why it relates to climate conversations. So it is the responsibility of women defenders to look for information. And we are trying our best to bring this information to women defenders. But once you get the information, create interest. What is our government saying or doing towards this information? Because when you don't take interest, believe you me, you will just be seeing things happening and you can't relate to them. But most importantly, and my approach to climate work, I look at climate work from a human rights perspective, because there's a very clear link on the two. There are either violations happening to communities or to individuals. And when you look at those violations, you look at them not just from a human rights perspective, but also what is causing the violations. And when you can create the two links, then it means you locate yourself within climate conversations. So one, capacity build yourself, but also look for opportunities. But two, monitor what commitments are being made, either by our governments, by companies, by international bodies, and how do those commitments affect me, who is based at the community level? Because no one can claim that they are not affected in any way by climate change. I'm yet to see or hear that one person, not just in Kenya, but in the world, can stand and say, this is not about me, it's about others.
And it does not matter whether you're rich, you're trying to explore a different planet, it affects us all.
All of us.
Yeah, and of course, going back to your Oil Watch engagement, and I'm sure it's linked also what you're doing at the Hub. There's this campaign coming up in East Africa, the East African crude oil pipeline. And, rumors about how it's going to cut through community lands across Uganda and Tanzania. And also realizing that fossil fuels are the culprits in this climate crisis. Salome, what are your thoughts around these projects and what would you opine to our leaders around this development?
These are not rumors, they are realities. That we have pipelines that are cutting across communities. And I'll just give you an example of Uganda, because I got to see firsthand a whole community that is displaced. I don't even want to mention the number of cases that have been filed and what has happened. But last year I visited a community whose land has been taken up so that a pipeline passes. And these are communities that were farmers, communities that lived together harmoniously. And when their lands were taken, they were told, you will be compensated. And they were indeed compensated.
Fairly?
No, that's where I was coming. Because the compensation they got was that you were given a 2-bedroomed house built for you, stone house, 2-bedroomed, no toilet, and no kitchen. And when we were talking to these communities, the first thing they said, our lifestyle is such that if I'm a father, I live in one room with my wife. But my sons, who could be married, are allowed to build within the compound, but they live with their family in their own houses. So here we are, a family of 7, all of us living in a 2-bedroom house, and I'm a father with my wife. My son is married, my other son is married. So how are we expected to live? 2, our toilets were built way off. Now you have a two rooms with a toilet next. This is not part of our culture. So I'm giving this example because when you're doing such projects and you want to kick people out, think about their lifestyle. How are you impacting on the kind of lifestyle they used to live? Including where did they go to pray? So you've cut down all the shrines, and this is where people used to go and pray. You've put a pipeline. You've killed a whole community that were livestock keepers because they can no longer keep their livestock. So these are some of the stories which, when you look at them from a human rights perspective, they violated all the economic rights. They violated political rights because now you've shifted people who are, let's say, voters for a particular councillor, shifted them. What have you done? So there are a number of violations, including rights of children who are going to schools. Schools have been demolished for a pipeline. There is no alternative school. There is no alternative hospital because all these were affected. So that's just one. But 2, when defenders now come out and speak against these violations, what do we see happening? They are arrested. Organizations are being closed down. So the pipeline story, and especially for East Africa, for those who have heard about ECOP, if you are a defender and you are listening to me and you don't know what this is, read about it. Support fellow defenders across the countries, because what is happening in some of our countries, civic space is shrunk so much that you cannot speak. So if you're being violated and you can't speak, what needs to happen is that across your neighboring countries where defenders are there, when they get information, they should make noise on your behalf. But if you are stifled within your country and no one is making noise on your behalf, then it becomes very easy for the pipeline to come, the oil to go where it was meant to go. Whoever is benefiting gets to benefit, but communities get to lose.
I like how you draw the linkages between the politics of things, the economics of things, but also the cultures of things. And we know, like, it also impacts on the land rights, the cultures of these people. And the worst thing for me, from what Salome is saying on the economical side of things, we've seen from cases of like Nigeria, most of these projects, they don't end up benefiting Africans. They will mine the oil, the fossil fuels, they'll be shipped out to Europe or other continents. And the question is, what is the fair compensation of these communities? Then 2, what are the alternatives? Do we just want to keep on investing in obsolete projects, or do we want to think the future? Or which Africans want these amazing renewable energy projects?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a conversation that we can really dig deeper into. And for you who's watching, please just try to Google ECOP projects to learn more about this, how you can show solidarity and support groups like Salome's and many other defenders across East Africa region. Salome, a quick fire question for you. If you were to change anything around you, what would that be and why?
I think for me, I would bring more women to the fore. And it is because I believe we have so many stories to tell which have not been told. But we also suffer the brunt of anything bad. When you hear something bad is happening in Africa and it is being raised, try and dig deeper to find out if it is this bad. How bad is it for the woman? How bad is it for that young person at the community? Because the people who will be talking of how bad something is, they are not the young people, they are not the women. So for me, whatever is said, find out how is it affecting women? How is it affecting young people? And go further and ask yourself, how is it affecting a young person living with disability? How is it affecting a woman living with disability? Because when you go peeling those layers, you will get to see the real impact of something. And when you're suggesting remedies, you will suggest remedies that resonate with the people who are most affected.
Wow. Amazing. And like I always say, it's that you cannot stand to solve the world's problems when living over half of the world's population that comprise women and girls. You know, it's really important to bring them to the table, not as a favor, but as a right that they deserve.
Yes.
And that they bring the voices on the solutions they're doing on the ground. I wonder, as you look into the future, Salome, what world do you envision for gender justice, also for climate action?
I envision a world that is just, but a world that gives women and young people the potential for them to thrive to their fullest, because it is that lack of space for young people and women that does not allow them to exploit the potential they have. Let me just take young people. They have the energy and they have the long life ahead of them. So when we do not give them space to exploit their capacities, and we are waiting for them to get to 30, 40 years, they've already lost the energy they used to have. So give them time now, give them space, and allow them to show how the world can be different. Because the way we used to do things might have been overtaken by events. There are people in this world who don't even know how to use a computer, but they are not giving opportunities to young people. So for me, I envision a world where young women, young men will be given an opportunity to exploit the potential they have so that they can bring change. Africa has people, the manpower, but not just manpower. We have people who are creative, people who are knowledgeable, and they can improve our technology. The thing we don't give them is space to do that.
Wow. And that brings us to almost a close, that the role of intergenerational leadership and engaging young people is very important. And actually, if you might quote me, I always tell people that allow young people to fail forward. It's only through failing forward that we actually learn and make better decisions for our future. Salome, there's a young girl somewhere, young boy, a man and even a woman in Africa who is doing a lot on the ground, facing so many challenges and maybe at times not knowing how to go around it. And you've excelled in the space. You've really gone through a lot of these experiences, and to be where you are, I'm sure there's so many lessons. So I want you to just look at the camera, inspire them in your own words, speak to them some words of encouragement.
For you who is out there, and especially the young girls, first, never lose hope. 2, look for that one person whom you aspire to be like them. Walk to them and tell them, hold my hand. These are people who will hold your hand and look upon them for every journey you take. I got that support. Someone held my hand. I've never looked back. And 2, I'm on a journey to hold others because I know what holding hands means and can do. So if there's someone you aspire to be like them, take that step. Walk to them, tell them, hold my hand. And if you're that one person who has the ability to hold another person's hand, look for that young person in your village, at your workplace, and if you see potential in them, hold their hand, even if they have not reached out to you. You will be making a great change for this young person, but also for the world.
Wow. Lose not your hope. Hold someone's hand and look for someone you look up to really hold your hand. If you cannot get this, I'm not sure what else you get. Thank you so much, Salome, for your wonderful time. And I say, what a moment, what an experience, what a challenge. At Now Media, communicating impact for climate, nature, people, and development. And if you want to learn more about what women human rights defenders Hub are doing, please check them out on social media and also Google WHRD Hub to get to know more about their works and how you can engage. And until next time, it's been a wonderful pleasure hosting the one and only Salome Nduta, the Executive Director of Women Human Rights Defenders Hub Kenya. Thank you.